I'm rewatching Fellowship of the Ring. It's on Netflix, so I can rewatch it at night. I opened it up on my list or previously viewed or whatever it's called, and it was like partially watched. So I watched it earlier this year and just paused and left. I'm not I'm not the right kind of fanboy. I think I love fantasy stuff, but I'm just not in. I'm not really into a lot of things. I'm I've gotten feelers in a lot of things, but I'm not really into. Um, so I just watched the scene in Fellowship of the Ring where they're going through the mines of Moria and the Balrogs chase them. There's so many things that are really unlikely. I mean, it's like really unlikely. But that's not okay. I'm not really talking about the movie. This is not supposed to be a reviewy type thing like I do sometimes. This is about my identity. The who am I? And when I'm watching these and other movies, well, this is what kind of gave me the title. No fellowship, no ring fellowship for me. Is what I call it because these are unlikely allies. You know, a dwarf, an elf, four hobbits, two humans, and a human wizard. Well, I guess Gandalf's technically human, even though he's a wizard and he's lived hundreds of years or something. But they're unlikely allies. You wouldn't expect to see these people running around together. And this is the Fellowship of the Ring. And I realize I have never had a real group like that, fellowship group. Um, the guys that and gals, I guess, they get together 4 or 5 people that are close friends, and they play role playing games at D&D together, and they ride bikes, and all those mid '80s things she always saw. I didn't have that group, and it's a geeky thing. Geeks typically have the geeks to hang out with. I've noticed. Well, uh, it's popularized in like Big Bang Theory that there are those 4 guys that really don't have much in common except for they're all kind of nerdy. I mean, and they're really into comic books and they're really into games and Star Trek and it's just like they're a knit group that I didn't grow up with a knit group like that. I don't know. My first role playing game experience, as probably a few people who were born by the time I was Hero Quest. Hero Quest was a board game. I think it was Milton Bradley. I'll look that up before I write this down. But it was a board game that was like, ages 8 and up. I mean, it was a kids game that had some of the elements of D&D. Had evil, good and evil. It had a wizard, a barbarian, a dwarf. I don't know if it had elf. Well, it probably did. Orcs, and it was fantasy. Kind of like Clue also, because the board had squares and it had like tiles. They're little cardboard tiles that cover different spots, and it and there were books, and the dungeon master, I think that's what he's called there too. I mean, that's like D&D, but the guy that knew the story, he knew what the map looked like, because that board could be formatted different ways. When you lay the tiles out different ways, you lay the furniture out different ways because of little plastic furniture pieces. and you had a story that goes along with it, and there's like this little, it's like a little mini epic. You roll dice for their things, and that was my first board game RPG experience, and I didn't have a group. I didn't have a fellowship. You know, I I played the game with my dad. There were like, I don't know, 13 uh, campaigns in the book. We played most of them with my dad, some with my cousin. I think I might have stood up with my sisters, but I don't think we ever played it all the way through because they weren't into it. So I didn't have that little group. When I fast forward like 5 or 6 years ago, we got that game out because I still kept it. And we found this envelope where I had written a bunch of campaigns. I'd drawn my own tiles, and I had stuff in this book. I had extra cards in this envelope, and my kids played a little bit too. They didn't get as into it, even as I did, but they at least played a little bit. It's like, I don't know, the point I'm getting at, the geeky role playing game geeks point is you don't have to throw yourself all the way into that world, that subculture. A lot of these stereotypes are based around a subculture, I think. Different different ways of doing things, maybe. And to me, that's really a subcultural thing. And you don't have to throw yourself into it. You can just be on the outskirts, or, hey, some people like it a lot and really get into it. They're more deeper the fanboyishness than I am. Mine was borderline, I guess. I'm a borderline geek. I don't. There are levels of geekdom, hence the title, my last booklet. Because you're not all geek or no geek. It's like there's a spectrum. Life is a spectrum of geekdom. That should be my title, spectrum of geekdom. Because geeky things. I'll talk about other geeky things in this book. Because geeky is cultural. It's movies, music, books, comics, TV shows, toys. It's cultural stuff, and touch on a lot of that. Because I did in levels of geekdom. So I'm kind of going to read through that. I'm not going to do this copy and paste thing, but there's a lot of ideas in there that'll come through in this new book that I'm working on. Who am I? It's how identity helps define, forms a foundation of any self-care, self-help, anything we come up against. And I think that's the first thing we need to do. And it's too bad that I'm 41 and starting this to really get thinking about who am I. I mean, it's been like back in my mind for a long, long time, but I haven't been proactively answering that question or responding to that question proactively, and that's not good. I mean, we need to be aware of our identity, of who we are. And that's all I have to say about it for now. I'm hoping this will spur on some writing. My own writing whenever I work on this